All right, all right. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Real Deal Podcast. Let's go. Here we go again with a new episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back. Happy Saturday, December 7th. Wow, I can't believe it's already December 7th. Holidays, Christmas will be here, and it's going so quickly and so fast. So, but I hope everyone's enjoying their December so far. But we are live once again. Like I said, new episode. You can check out all the previous episodes, and you can follow on at Get the Real Deal on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram. You can follow the show on all the podcast social media platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, everywhere, YouTube. We're everywhere. So wherever you can get your podcast, you can follow there and listen in as well. BS3TVLive.com is the network. Also, we're on Roku, BS3 TV, Roku channel as well. So I am not going to keep my guest much longer in the wing. I'm very, very excited to have her on. You've seen her if you follow golf or if you're on Instagram or anything like that, YouTube. You've seen her on a variety of different things. She is a golfer, educator, teacher, women in golf. She elevates and puts a very big premium on helping and educate women in golf and sports in general as well. And she's also the PGA PGM associate program. She's in that as well. So welcome to the show. And she's going to be a podcaster too. So we're going to get into all of that. Welcome to the show, Mariah Swigart. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate having being here. It's an honor
Yeah.
to be on your show. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done so much in the golf creating content creating as well. So you've done a lot. So we're gonna get to know you a little bit and share your story. I want you to share your story and things like that. So I'm glad we got to connect on Instagram, and I love what you're doing in that space too. So in the golf space. So again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It has been a journey for me too, and a lot of it's just trial by error. But the relationships I've learned or I've created and people I've met along the way has been like totally worth every little, lesson learned. So it's funny you say, reaching out on Instagram because so many friendships have been created from that platform.
Yeah.
Everything has pros and cons to it, and you learn a lot, but I'm grateful for the relationships that come out of that.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad too. Like I said, I happened to just come on your page. The algorithm just pops up. Probably some people that you follow that I follow, and it just and I'm like, I got to get Mariah on the show. So again, I really appreciate that and the connection as well. Well, we already got some comments here. Says keep up the great work and for everybody. So yeah, it's he says amazing resume that you have already and you haven't even shared it, but I guess from the intro. So women in sports. So yes, thank you. In our hour from the Nathan Ramachandran from the In Our Hour Sports Show. But all right, well, let's start there. Let's start who is Mariah and how you got into golf in general, and just do a quick intro of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my background is in education, so I got my degrees are both in education, and kind of found that through that I really loved the presentation of the lessons learned and the things I was teaching, putting together the lessons, and then the relationships through it. And I kind of got burnt out of the in between, all the details of I taught elementary ed, and then I switched over to higher ed, and I just got a little bit burnt out from that. So I kind of shifted gears and switched over for a graduate degree in business psychology, and then understanding how our brain learns. So along the way, though, I did play college golf. Still, loved the sport, and that was also during COVID, so it was just booming. So all that together, like getting a degree in kind of essentially marketing, business psychology, and marketing, and then with all the business starting with golf, it just kind of melded into, okay, well, I'll do some freelance work for these businesses, and then notice that, okay, social media is obviously growing too. So I probably should start a page to advertise my services of advertising for brands. And that was just photography, videography. My face was like not even shown on anything. But I also like had a little bit more time to play. And so getting back into the sport, all my college teammates had moved back home or weren't around to play with. So I was like, I got to find some girls to play with, because, I really am like, I've got my foursome guys, but, they have families and stuff. And I'm like, I want to play with girls again. It's just been so long.
Yeah.
So social media became just such a catalyst in finding great girls and friends that play golf and were in my area. And so from that, it turned into this page that I thought was just going to be like a brand, and, Miss Swag. I was like a girl showing swag golf. My last name's Swigart. It fit. And I was like, it's goofy, easier to remember. And then I was like, oh, now I'm kind of attached to this as an actual person. So it's kind of funny how that transition happened. And the name stuck, but I've always thought about, oh, should I change it? But it's easy to remember. It's part of my story. And so I'm really grateful now for those relationships, and then continuing those connections through that platform, and then continuing to work with brands and kind of showcasing what they're doing that kind of helps the world of golf, but the world as a whole, because we know our world can be very materialistic and Instagram can be fake.
Yeah.
So we want to shy away from that, or I want to shy away from that, and try to just like make a positive impact through that platform, but on the world as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And that with the intro, I forgot to say, yes, Miss Swag Golf as part of the intro. And I thought that was and I love that. Like I said, kind of a play on your last name, but you're like, hey, I educate and I'm in golf and all that. So it makes total sense. And going to go back, there's a few things I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Go back to the teaching,
Mhm.
and it kind of goes hand in hand, because that's what you're actually still doing that now, but just on the golf level too. What would you say about the teaching? Do you miss teaching from on the education side?
Kids, I was with kids and then with college students, and I think both elementary ed, I was fourth grade, and both seasons of life for those students are, I think, really transformative. Fourth graders are like deciding what they want to do and what hobbies and sports they want to get into, and college students are deciding what they want to do. Yeah. So it was a really nice season to be kind of invested in their journeys, and it helped support them. So I do miss that aspect of it. There's also a lot of hard stuff that those individuals are going through. So I found too, as I got burnt out, I wasn't serving them best, and that stress that was on me, was, I don't miss that, and I think I'm in a much better spot now to where I'm able to do that with help with my coworkers and my relationships and pour into those relationships. So yes and no, I do miss that, and then I've been able to find it now with coaching some golf and mostly beginners clinics for women, kids, and then for those who are at the golf course. So now I run marketing for a Bel Air Golf Park out here in Phoenix, and so that was just interesting. It's an executive course. It's a really cute course in great shape. Greens are tricky, so it's like fun. You still get a challenge even though it's a shorter course. But it's super beginner friendly. So we've gotten a lot of beginners that wanted to take lessons, and they wanted specifically a female coach just because they felt more comfortable. So I was kind of thrown into it, but I was like, I'm trained in this. I love teaching. So that's why I'm in the PGM program now, to be trained to be a certified coach. And the course is sending me through that just because that need is there. But I'm so grateful. Like, again, that journey's just been amazing how everything kind of fit together to now be where I'm at. And I feel like I'm kind of thriving in all the skills I've learned up to this point.
Yeah, for sure. And you said burnout and mental health, as you said it, and with a lot of the kids, that what they're going through, especially these days, it's a lot, and even for the teachers too. And I think too, as you said, you didn't stop teaching, you're just doing it on a different level in education, just on a different level. And I think that's a very, very important. And you said you're the director of marketing at the Bel Air Golf Park. So you, like I said, still coaching, still teaching, still education, and still putting awareness out too for especially women in golf. And I want to dive in a little bit into that. the women in golf and the growth and how important it is and representation and all that. Talk a little bit about that, like from what you see from your vantage point of how women in golf has evolved and things like that.
hmm Yeah, I mean it's huge. The sense of that word evolved. When I was playing golf, it was not cool. I think we got bullied for it really
Mhm.
in middle school and high school. But and then also even going down to the material side of things, that I couldn't find like golf clothes that fit me. We weren't really allowed to use tennis clothes. It was just different. The transformation now has been really more inviting, just on the material side, the swag side, if you will, of inviting women to play. And so to feel comfortable what you're wearing to the golf course, it just seems like a silly thing, but it really was very limited back in when I was learning to play and in college and even high school and even college some too. So that transformation has been huge. And I think that also helps create more of a welcoming atmosphere to actually show up and be around other ladies at the course. But that's one thing I've noticed like during that COVID time of like, wow, this is amazing how much is just booming. I'm finding ladies now that I can actually play with of all different levels, that we just want to be on the golf course together. And that's what I love about the sport is that you get a chance to build relationships throughout on the course for like 4 to 5 hours, and then sometimes longer. But
Yeah.
and you're out in nature and you get a chance to chat in between shots or in the cart. And so that's been really great to get to know someone. And so I feel comfortable to reach out and send a DM. I mean, that's how I met a lot of the girls that I play with now, even years ago, just sending a DM and say, hey, I'm in your area too. I love that course. If you want to set up a tea time sometime, I'd love to meet up and play. And so that's really kind of how it started. And from there, you can build a relationship, or you can say, well, that was a great round. Like, thanks for playing,
Yeah.
and then move on. But yeah, I think the access and the courses being more welcome, but also having more tools now to feel comfortable to reach out, feel comfortable to put on a golf outfit. And it's not like, it sounds so funny, but it's not like, oh, I have to now change to go play a hobby and then change again to go out and get drinks. Like it's way different now. But back when I was in college and things, I always brought around my golf outfit. And
Mhm.
again, I'm trying not to be materialistic about it, but those little things do stick out and become a kind of a hassle sometimes.
Well, yeah, right, and it's what you said with the fashion, the outfits. It's like you want to play good, you look good to play good. It's just one of those things. So no, I get that. Like it isn't anything. If you feel good about what you have on or whatever, it just makes you just like, hey, it makes me perform even better. I feel a little bit better about that too. So you said, well, I might as well look good with it, and
Yeah.
on top of that too. So why not? So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's what with anything. If you look the part and look good, it's just like, hey, I feel good. I'm gonna perform well too. So yeah, I totally get that in that way too. So I want to go back. We'll definitely go back to because I want to talk about how
Mhm.
social media has changed
Definitely.
golf and content creating and things like that. But what's your day to day look like? I'm sure it's different each and every week. So, but what's your day to day look like today compared to what it was, say, 5, 6 years ago?
Mhm. Well, there's a lot of travel now, which is
Mm,
amazing. And one thing that
yeah.
I'm really grateful for Bel Air Golf Park with is that they're open to me working remotely. And I come in a couple times a week to teach lessons or clinics and meet in person. But other than that, I also work with a few other companies that allow me to travel with them for golf events. And so that's been huge. And that's what I loved about college golf and why I even played golf in college is because of the ability to travel to tournaments. That was really the selling point, because I wasn't quite sure about the team or anything like that, or even my skills. But I was like, well, this is a chance for me to travel and see the world. I moved from Indiana to Arizona to play college golf, and then most of the schools that they competed with, it was NAIA school. So most of the schools were actually in California. So they said, well, we're in California about every month, if not twice a month. And I was like, so sign me up. I've never been, so I really want to go. And it just opened so many doors and just places that I would never see probably without having been in the sport. And so I fell in love with that, and I'm glad I get to do it still today. traveling for different opportunities, and it's hard to say no to them. So it's like to take another trip. Thankfully, my husband is very supportive of it as well, and we have family nearby. So as far as like the pets and things like that, like they've been very supportive. Everyone's very happy, and I try to make sure I bring friends or family with if I can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's like more travel.
Mhm.
And you said you have a good support system. It's always good to have, your wife, your husband involved and supportive to do what you love to do and what you're doing and everything too. So that's great. So, but yep. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe the more of the social media side, the
Mhm.
business side. But before we get into that, let me ask you about what's some of the more rewarding things that you do, or some of the positive things that you love about what you do and golf in general, and in some of the maybe some of the things, the challenges that you have faced through that as well.
Definitely, the relationships have been the most rewarding. It's
Mm.
incredible the connections that are made through golf, and being put with maybe a random on the golf course to as much as having a business partner from a go side golf friend. Like I've heard so many stories of people who have just made lifelong friends from one round or one opportunity, and it was around the golf industry. So I that's what I draw to. I think that's what life is about, is our
Yeah.
relationships and our connections with people. So, being able to find a hobby that allows for that is incredible. And when I was growing up, golf was very individualistic. It was like
Hmm.
very much an individual sport. You practice like alone because that's how you perform alone. And you worked with your coach one on one. I was there were many times where I was like applauded for practicing 3 hours of short game by myself after school, and like that was praised. Like, wow, you're really dedicated. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I really didn't hang out or talk to anybody. Like so that's what I struggled with the sport growing up. And I think even I mean I mentioned the outfits as a joking thing, but just the stigma around a golf course or a country club of like, no, we do our own thing. You dress a certain way. You
Right.
are you practice on your own. Don't really approach anyone. Don't really talk to anyone because they're doing their own thing. And I think that culture I kind of push back against because at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your time, and if it's not valuable to you, um, or if being alone is not valuable to you, then that's something I needed to like figure out. And it wasn't until high school where I found a good group of peers and I was able to actually find like, wow, this is a relationship inducing sport. And I went on
Right.
a trip to Ireland actually, and with
Wow.
strangers, yeah, to coach golf as a high schooler. We ran like junior golf camps. It was
Hmm.
the most incredible trip.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like a taste of what college golf could be like for me. And so that's when I said, okay, I had a few college scholarships I wasn't going to take, but after seeing like this could be a relationship builder, it brought us here. We met all these incredible people. I think I could do this for 4 more years. And then kind of took the sport and the pressure of performing individually out of it, and then was able to see the sport as really a relationship builder. So I'm sorry, I kind of came away from
No,
your question.
no, that's good.
But yeah, that's what I see as a positive and kind of what's really valuable and what's life giving in what I'm doing now. And then with that, with social media, it does get a little bit tricky. And as I said, like with social media as a whole, we have pros and cons.
Yeah.
I'm careful what I share online. Like I don't want to share too much about my family, just because my husband's a high school teacher, so I don't want people, his students, to find me and like make that awkward for him in any way. And he doesn't have social media, so he doesn't even want to be like on.
Part of it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the safety is kind of a concern too, and sharing how much you share that's personal. But I do like to share personal things within the sport, and my page is all about golf, so it fits.
Yeah, for sure. And that's yeah, that'll be the next one. It'll be like, the social media aspect of it. And what you're doing and sharing, and you said you're educating on top of you said it's more golf related on your page. Like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons with social media, but I think on the positive side of being content creating or education and teaching, I think is very important, and what you're sharing of that is important on that aspect. So yeah, I mean, you kind of answered my next question about the social media. How much do you share? How much are you willing to share? And how that can help others. You said maybe young girls, young kids in general, young kids in general that want to get into golf, and they see you as you said, educating the next couple generations.
Mhm. Yeah, that's my hope. I know I post a lot of different things, work with a lot of different brands, and on the short form social media, certain things do better. And even if I hate to cater to the algorithm and things like that, but when I view it as a business, there are certain things where I'm like, okay, I know this doing a photo is just going to do well, and it has really no content behind it other than maybe a few chats, in the comments or whatnot. So I mean, that's just the kind of the reality of social media and trained in viewing that as a business. Um, However, that I love that there's so many other platforms like podcasts like this. Like I really appreciate you having me on to be able to share a little
You're
bit
welcome.
more
Yeah.
of, what I'm doing in the heart behind and the education, and then long form too, some YouTube. And so I love any chance to be able to actually share, the heart behind it. I mean, golf is not just, I want to encourage people not just to be golfers, to build relationships, to find value and purpose in your life. And I think golf makes, purpose for a walk in the park. And it's nice to have a good hobby that can also bring really good mental health
Yeah.
benefits of being outdoors, analyzing things, playing your own game, not being able to blame things on other people. There's a lot of great values and character traits that are built through the sport. So I really do love encouraging people getting into the sport, but knowing also it's not the end all be all. And it also is very addictive. So it's kind of knowing like what's your purpose and the round each round and playing the sport and setting your attention. So then that way it's a little bit easier to kind of analyze how much is becoming your life and how much is fulfilling the goal that you want for the sport to have for you.
Yes, I 100%. And like you said, what is the purpose? Why you're doing this? And you're right. I mean, with social media, you can post a picture, you can post something, any words of encouragement, something like that. It it depends. People might take it this way, people might take it that way. But you said you're putting it out there because you want someone. It can encourage someone. It can help someone. You just don't know. You never know whatever you post positively. You never ever just what it could do for people and everything too. So I got a couple more for you. I wanted to ask you about. You talk
Yeah.
about mental health, and
Mhm.
the mental aspect of golf in general, but you were in education too. You said it was a burnout. I burnt out too at one point where I was doing the podcast and at one point, and I was doing so much. I would think I got to put out so much, got to put out so much material, so much and this like that, and I did get burnt out, and I took a break for a year. And you
Mhm.
said something very important, which I totally agree with about. Uh, I'm not my best self. I put out my best self if I'm burnt out or if I'm mentally checked out. And you got to take that break. You got to take that. So I took a year off of this and then reformatted the podcast for what it is today. I do it whenever I can and don't feel bad if I don't put something out there. But talk about how important mental health is uh, in your life and just in golf in general, and the mental aspect of golf. Because I'm sure it's like a high percentage of the mental side of it.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And I've been able to have really good conversations recently on this topic. As I think I've lost, I mean, I'm even in the season where I've lost touch a little bit on how much I'm spending on the social media, on social media and in the
Yeah.
golf world, out, just on the golf course and things. And so when I find myself like not necessarily realizing how much of my time is being sucked into those resources, those time, distractions sometimes if they're not purposeful, then I have to bring in a few people like family and whatnot to just talk through it, because I think self-awareness is huge, and self-reflection is where it kind of starts, knowing, like, checking in with yourself and saying, okay, how have I been feeling recently? Every time I open up my phone or that app, what does my body tell me? Am I angry when I open it? Am I expecting something? Am I thinking like, oh my gosh, if I see this post, I am going to be, and I was finding myself kind of in that, a little bit of stress when I'd open up social media, because I'd be like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. Like you said, like the feeling of there's an expectation for me to perform here. And again, it's not your best work. And I think our body tells us first, like where, maybe not where, but what is like red flags of areas we need to maybe keep an eye on, and bring in potentially other people that you love and trust to say like, hey, I just want to talk about this. Like I'm feeling this, and maybe they have insight for you. But also there's great mindfulness practices when that happens. So I found myself, instead of like, if I'm in a frenzy or even just not, and I find myself grabbing my phone, wanting to scroll, because I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like doing anything else, I'm going to do that. I tried to do a mindfulness activity instead. And walking is one, being in nature is one. And so both of those do correlate well with golf, thankfully. So yeah, if you're able to instead, I love the golf rounds too, because usually I put my phone away, and it is nice for if I'm not filming content, to be honest. But it is nice. Your group also typically respects that too, if you're not on your phone the entire round. And that's where relationships are formed, is when you're present. So yeah, being on the golf course is a great way to kind of disconnect from those stressors, and then keeping it that way. If golf is a hobby for you, trying to view it as that, this is a great way for me to care for myself and build relationships, be present in nature, and in each shot you perform well that way. Like sports psychologists are always promoting people, be present, don't forget about the last shot, be focused on the next one. You play, so your game shows when you do that, and all of that really relates really well with caring for your mental health.
That's important. I mean, great points on that, because you said golf is an escape. It is like you essentially, like you say, if you're not on your phone and you're just saying, okay, I'm coming to either in competition time or just having fun or whatever it is, and you're like, I'm just going out and I'm just want to escape from everything, and that's where now you have to focus, you have to concentrate, you have to be on point, especially if you are either competing or you say just for fun or whatever. But we said not doing content. You're just maybe in competition mode. Then you have to be out there. You want to perform at your best. So no distractions or anything like that. Because you say social media can definitely, or just on your phone in general, or scrolling, and it can be a distraction. And sometimes it may be not even a distraction. Sometimes it is. I tell my wife all the time, she's not a big social media either. She uses it, but not big on it really. But we talk about, and sometimes I tell her, if I'm on, I'm just mindlessly on. I'm not even thinking about, I'm just scrolling through. But then you can get lost and lose focus on what's important too. So then I'm like, okay, let me sit this down. I don't need to look at stats or what's going on in sports or in life in general in that regard. I got to focus on this. So, but for you, like I said, golf is it is a mental sport. It goes hand in hand with your mental health too. So that could help your mental health, just being out there, just kind of escaping from everything that's in this world in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going back to your intention for it, I think is huge too. If you show up saying, "I want this round to be an escape from my day to day, and I want to enjoy it," then it's funny. You really have to go back to that intent many times throughout the round. As it gets stressful or there's a bad shot, you're like, okay, what was the purpose of the round today?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, just got two more, and I'll let you go. I don't want to keep you too long, and but I'm enjoying this conversation, which I knew I would. So, but I'm glad to, like I said, I was glad to have you on. You wanted to talk a little bit about you're launching a podcast,
Yeah.
and when we reached out, you were like, oh, this is great because I'm launching a podcast. I think you said this month. So, talk a little bit about what the podcast is about, and uh, and uh, and yeah, just talk about a little bit about the podcast in itself, and let everyone know when it starts and what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in my journey with golf, like I said, I've met so many incredible people, but I would kick myself many times after the round because I'd be like, "Oh, I did not ask them like these questions that I was curious about," but I just got caught up in the sport and the game and being present, which is awesome. We love that. But I wanted to learn some just like tangible, practical skills on how to apply good like listening and question asking skills to the golf round and how to
Okay.
do that well. Because I just kept, again, I kept getting distracted. And if my goal for the day was to connect with my friends on the golf course, and I was only just playing golf and I wasn't actually connecting with them. I mean, there's a difference of being physically, present, and then also being like, oh, how's your family? How are things at work? And I would just kind of forget to ask. So I wanted to start a podcast because I think there are quite a few people when I was talking to them that also were like, yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, and it's kind of a running joke and kind of a meme sometimes of when guys play golf together, they connect and they feel like they've caught up, and then their wives ask them like, oh, how's the family? How's the work? And they're like, oh, we don't talk about that stuff. So it's just kind of funny. You never actually hear how they're doing. So I wanted to ask people what good strategies there were, and thankfully I have such an amazing community around of other golfers who have been doing the sport for a while and are well versed in kind of their niche. And so I've been interviewing quite a few people and thought their knowledge is something that I think many people can benefit from. So we've kind of started with how to a couple that have started playing golf together and some strategies on how to do that, how to grow closer to your spouse through the sport, if that's something that they're interested in. And, we kind of came to the conclusion that there's so many different ways to share this hobby with your partner. And it doesn't have to be a stress of like, oh, I have to go out and play 18 holes. So that's a great one that we'll be launching at the beginning of the year. And then also same thing for your kids. So we have a director of Pops Junior program on the podcast, Cheyenne, shares great strategies to get kids into golf and use it as a relationship builder for the family. So lots of topics like that. We have a psychologist on that also shared about the golf as an addiction, and if that's a bad thing, if it's a replacement for another addiction, which we see often. So a lot of good insights and on how to build relationships and practical ways on how to apply that to your life, but also to the golf course and vice versa.
Oh, wow, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely. I enjoy different types of podcast and always getting in new podcasts and always giving the listen and it's going to be like it's going to be very very interesting and educational and just and seem like you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And you said it's launching next year or at the
Yeah,
or
beginning of the year is the plan.
okay.
Like I said, we have them filmed and ready to go. It's just the editing. I'm learning a lot through the process. So I'm
Yes, yeah.
great, Courtney. You would have some good advice for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timing of editing and then if you enjoy it, you'll learn and everything too. So if you enjoy doing this, it's just the preparation, the questions, how formatting of interviewing, how you're gonna make it. Is it gonna be conversational? Is it gonna be an interview? Things like that. And then you said editing is another big part of. There's so many different ways of editing, so many different softwares, things like that. So if you need any advice or not even advice. If you just need like anything like that, just you can just let me know, and I can totally help you out because there's so much into it, but it is a lot of fun once that finished product is there. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're thinking, wow, that was a great interview. I very enjoyed that. Like I'm enjoying this one. So and once I edit and get pieces of it and put it out there, it's rewarding. For
Yeah,
sure.
what I've found so far is having those conversations with friends. I'm like, this is such
Mhm.
a blessing to me.
Yeah.
Because right now it's mostly just friends I know. People have been around me, but planning to branch out in the future. But yeah, it's been a blessing to me to be able to sit down and be like, I've never asked you this. And I'm really glad we had the opportunity in whatever format that is to actually now dive into it. And that's been so nice. And I think that's what I love about podcasts and social media as a whole. It kind of gives you purpose to things maybe you wouldn't think about before.
Yeah. It sure does. It does. And yeah. So I'm looking forward to the pod. Do you have a name of it and that you want that you can share
Of course.
and yeah, you said 2025.
It's pretty typical, yeah. And the website's built out now, so you can join our mailing list and get updates on like when who we're interviewing and when things are going to be launched. I give out a lot of resources. So right now we have 50 great conversation starters to use on the golf course and just in general. And that's a PDF I can send out if you sign up for our newsletter. And then also 50 great date ideas around the hobby of golf. You got all skill levels. And then same way 50 ways for kids to get into the sport. But the podcast title, website title is Meaningful Topics for Golf, and the website is meaningfultopicspodcast.com.
Okay.
Very, very just basic, meaningful topics. That's what we're bringing up here is great ways to start conversation and have meaningful conversations. So that's really what the name is. But yeah, meaningfultopicspodcast.com is where you'll be able to find that mailing list. And then I have the tiles built out for the different podcasts that have already been filmed and we'll be launching at the beginning of the year.
All right, looking forward to it. I'm going to be signing up. I'm going to sign up for the newsletter, and I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to do all those things because I mean that's the one thing I always say to people. Say, well, how can I support the podcast? I'm like, sign up for the newsletter, or you have a website, and easy click, just subscribe, like, share, and those are easy things that everyone can do. So everyone lock in, my audience to tune in and subscribe to the newsletter and the podcast as well. So I mean, my last question was going to be what's next for Mariah in 2025? What you got coming up? So you got the podcast and newsletter. Anything else you wanted to share? And that'll be my last question.
Yeah, well, diving into those things, I want to be really intentional about that. And as you know, it takes a lot of time. Love to have you on the podcast, by the way. So I'd love
sure. And yes, I'm a DM away. So yes, I'll be glad to jump on the podcast as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've got a lot lining up. I'm in Phoenix, so this time of year is just crazy for the golf industry. We've got a lot of visitors coming in. So it always from like December to March or so is like our busy season. We have a lot of events we're hosting at the golf course. And then I always go to the PGA show. So if you follow any of my content, you'll see I do a vlog of it. So if you're ever interested in that, it's a huge convention for all golf brands. It's insane. It's Orange County Convention Center is literally full of golf. It's a fun spot. So those are on the radar. I'm going next week to Carlsbad for the launches of the new clubs for 2025. So lots of fun travels ahead. So if you follow my page, I'll be obviously posting about those things and sharing kind of the journey along the way. But yeah, that's just all on Miss Swag Golf, and I'll start posting the podcast videos to the Miss Swag Golf YouTube page instead of building out a whole new YouTube page for the podcast too.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what's in store. So again, wish you many blessings and with everything you got coming up. And again, you can follow Mariah on this Miss Swag _golf on Instagram. And you also you say you got the YouTube, you got the podcast channel. Anywhere else? I know you're on LinkedIn. Anywhere else that they can follow you?
Yeah, I think those are the primary ones. And just to clarify too, it is MS period. Again, my initials are, that's always a tricky one. People are like, but you're married. But I'm like, but I don't really want it to be about my personal life first off. So it's just a generic MS. And then also those are my initials. So it just made sense. But I feel like I have to explain that sometimes because they can't find me.
Yeah, they can find if they typed in your name or they said Miss Swag Golf, I'm sure you can find out everything. So Mariah, thank you again. I really appreciated this, and hopefully we can do this again. And like you said, if you need anything on the podcast launch or anything like that, or just conversation, I'm a DM, an email away from that. So again, thank you for your time, and this has been a lot of fun. And happy holidays to you and your family. And said best of luck and many blessings moving forward with everything you got going on as well.
Thank you so much, Courtney. It's really been fun chatting with you, and definitely we'll connect and do this again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you again, and I'll share this. I'll definitely be sharing this once it's edited in the next day or two. As you said, editing, but I'll definitely share this on your, on my social media and everything too, in the podcast pages as well. So, all right. Well, you have a good rest of the weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, tuning in. And as always, God bless and stay safe, everyone. All right.